Hello my dear student, welcome again. Today we are going to do the grammar exercise, page 57. So please open your student book, page 57, and we are going to do some grammar. We are going to talk today about the past simple. You remember in the previous lessons we talked about the past simple and we said we have two kinds of verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. Today we are going to talk about the irregular verbs, because we talked in the past, we talked about the past. We used to add ed and we said this is a regular form of the verb. But today we are going to talk about the irregular verbs, and we have to learn them by heart. Here, for the irregular verbs, we have to learn them by heart. There is no rule or fixed rule to make it simple past. So we need to learn them. We need to go to page 50, I think 70, 78, 79 of your activity book. We have a list of irregular verbs. So please go to your activity book, page 78 and 79. We have the list of the irregular verbs, the most common irregular verbs, and try to memorize them by heart, because there is no fixed rule for writing these verbs. We need to memorize the past and the past participle for all these verbs so we can do the right grammar. When we answer some tense, we have to know the form of the verb. Is it past, or is it past participle, or is it present? So today we are going to talk about the past simple, the irregular verbs, and we have one exercise, page number 57. Okay, the irregular verb. Here it's required from us in pairs find the past simple form for these irregular verbs in the text on pages 55 and 56. We have five verbs. Okay, we have sit, take, think, give, and make. These five verbs, when we change them into past or past simple, we change the form of writing. So sit becomes sat. This is the past. The past of sit is sat. The past of take is took. So you can see the change in writing. Then we have the word or the verb think. Think, when I change it into past simple, it becomes thought. See, there is a lot of change in this verb. Okay, the first two letters are the same, but after that we changed most of the letters. Then we have the verb give. The verb give, when I change it into past, I change only one letter. I change the I into A, so it becomes gave. Give becomes gave. So this is easy verb. And we have the verb make. Make, as you can see, we change the K into D. So make becomes made. Make becomes made. So these are some of the verbs. We're supposed to find them in page 55 and 56 as exercise number 1 requires. Let's go now to exercise number 2. And they ask us in pairs, as you can see. Okay, so now let's go to the activity book. We have here in page, as you can see, page 46 of your activity books. We have to do this exercise. The exercise, in this exercise we have the list of some verbs, and we need to change these verbs from the base form into the past simple. put the verbs in the table below in the past simple tense. So we just need to change them from the base form or simple present into past simple. So the first one is done for us. We have the verb sit. As you can see here, sit becomes sat. The past of sit is sat. We change the alphabet I into A, so it becomes sat. Look at the other four verbs. We have the verb stand. Do you know, if you go, as I told you, go to page 78 and 79 and try to find these verbs there. So you will find them alphabetically ordered. So the verb stand, as you can see, stand becomes what? It becomes stood. Okay, so stand becomes stood. And the verb think, you know the verb think, if I think of something, I think, we change it into what? As I told you, we changed it into thought. So it's here. Think becomes thought. Okay? Think becomes thought. Okay. The word or the verb becomes became. So we change the O into A. So become, if we look, it will be in this side, on the left side of the activity book. Become becomes became. Okay, become becomes became. We change the O into A, and the verb know. Okay, K is silent here. We don't say know. We say know. Becomes new. Okay, we'll find it here with the K alphabet. K here. K no new. Okay, so no becomes new. So this is the verb, the exercise. We change the simple present into simple past. We just changed, and we need to start memorizing these verbs. It's very important for us to start memorizing these verbs from now, because it's very important. It will come next year and the year after till you become to 12th grade. You will need it. It's very necessary for you to know the form of the verbs, the simple present, past, and past participle, because you will need it to do the grammar of English. So I advise you to start memorizing the small ones or the short ones, and day by day start memorizing the rest. You have to memorize all these verbs so you can speak and write good English. Okay, let's move now to the next exercise. Here I have copied some of the verbs. Irregular verb, page 78 and 79 activity book. Please open your books, page 78 and 79, and go through these verbs and try to memorize and know the meaning of these verbs. It's very important for you if you want to learn English. It's very important for you to memorize these verbs. So we have here the base form, we have past simple, and still we need to learn the past participle of these verbs. But at this level, we need only to know about the past simple of the verbs. So like we see be here becomes was and were or were. Was or were. Become here it became. Become became. Began begin began. Okay? Bend bent. bite, bit. Okay. Break, the past of a break, if you break something, you break the glass or you break the window, the past is broke. I broke my hand. Okay? Bring, if you bring something, I bring the food or I bring water, bring, the past is brought. And so on. So please do go to these verbs and try to learn them because they are very important for speakers and learners of English. Okay, so they are in page, as I told you, page 78 and 79. We have the activity book. Okay, activity book, page 78 and 79. Let's move to the next exercise. Here, let's go back to our students' book. We have page 57 of our student book. Okay, we have to do the exercise on page, the exercise number 2. Here we have some verbs. We need to put these verbs. We have 5 verbs, and we have to fill the gaps here. About. Here it's required. Now in pairs, complete this dialogue with the verbs from the list. 2 words are used more than once. So we have 2 of these verbs are used more than once. So we have was, we have thought, we have were, we have become, we have wrote. All of them, they are in the past form. So we need to look and try to understand the sentence, then we need to fill the blank with the right verb. So please do look at read it, go through this exercise, and try to guess the meaning of the sentence. You need to know the meaning so you can put the verb. Let's read the first one. The character Sherlock Holmes. So it talks about Sherlock Holmes. You remember we talked about Sherlock Holmes and we said he is a detective in the stories. Blank, a professional detective. So what do you think we need to put? We need to put was or thought or were, became or wrote. What do you think the right verb? The character Sherlock Holmes? Yeah, we need to put was. Okay? We need to put was. Why? Because we are talking about one person. The person is Sherlock Holmes. Okay. He blank fame. Blank not important. So he blank fame blank not important. So what's the meaning of fame? We have to understand the meaning of fame. Fame, if I say it in Arabic, it means shuhra. الشهرة. So he refers to Sherlock Holmes. So he thought, the past of think. He thought, we will listen to it after we finish. He thought fame, blank, not important. So what's he thought that fame, shuhra, is not important. Okay? So fame is a singular. So we'll use what? We will use was. Was not important. So he thought that fame wasn't important. Watson, blank, his stories for people. Watson, his friend. Watson is a friend of Sherlock Holmes. Watson is the friend of Sherlock Holmes. So Watson, space, his stories for people. Watson wrote. كات شوف مش راضي يكتب في مشكلة Okay, so here we said Watson wrote. Watson wrote, sorry, here wrote is down. Sorry. Here we need to write wasn't. Okay. So Watson fame wasn't important. Watson, here we write wrote. Watson wrote his stories for people to know Holmes' role in them. Holmes' tools. Here we have the word tools. Do you know what's the meaning of tools? Tools means things. Okay? أشياء, أدوات. So, tools is plural. Holmes' tools were. Because we talk about plural. So tools were science, logic, and observation. We talked about in the last time we talked about logic, and we said logic means منطق, المنطق. Logic and observation of small details. His techniques such as examining fingerprints later dash a reality in police investigation. Here we have the word fingerprints. Fingerprints means بصمات in Arabic, if I want to know the meaning of fingerprints. This was very old. When they talked about this story was very long back. Still, we didn't have it in like nowadays. We have it for police. So he says that his techniques of Sherlock Holmes, his techniques such as examining fingerprints later became a reality in police investigations. Next time you are in London, visit his famous apartment in 221 or 201B Baker Street. So he stays in Baker Street. It became a museum in 1951. So it became a museum in 1951. Okay, so next time you are in London, visit his famous apartment at 221B. This is the place where he stays, Baker Street. The name of the street is Baker Street. It blank, a museum in 1951. Here we have the pronoun it. It talks about what the pronoun? It talks about yes, it talks about the apartment. Okay? Visit his famous apartment. The apartment, the apartment, because it's a singular and it is not a human, we call it it. It became okay. It became a museum in 1951. So now we have finished the exercise, page number 57. Now listen to the passage again and check your answer. Now we will listen to the passage, okay, and we will check if our answers are right or wrong. So please now listen to the audio and check your answers if they are right or wrong. Okay? So let's go to the recording and check our answers.
Module 5, page 57, exercise 3.
The character Sherlock Holmes was a professional detective. He thought fame was not important. Watson wrote his stories for people to know Holmes' role in them. Holmes' tools were science, logic, and observation of small details. His techniques, such as examining fingerprints, later became a reality in police investigations. Next time you're in London, visit his famous apartment at 221B Baker Street. It became a museum in 1951.
Okay, now after we have listened to the answers, I will again underline it for you. So was, here we have was, then he thought fame wasn't. Okay, so here we have was, wasn't important. Watson wrote his stories for people to know Holmes' role in them. Holmes' tools were science, logic, and observation of small details. His techniques, such as examining fingerprints, later became a reality in police investigations. Next time you are in London, visit his famous apartment at 221B Baker Street. It became. So these are the verbs, the simple past verbs. So we have done this exercise, page number 57. Now let's go to a new lesson at the same page, page 57, and let's move to the next page, please. Today we are going to talk about the comparative. So comparative, if I say I want to compare two things, usually we use adjectives. So if I want to compare, I say, let's say I have two persons. Say I have, this is B, okay, let's call him B, and we have, this is A. I will make it smaller. So if I want to compare between A and B, I will say B is what? B is, between the two, this is taller. This is tall. So we say he is taller. So here we are making what? We are making a kind of comparing between two persons. So if you are comparing between two persons, if I say B is taller than A, that means he is taller than him. Or I can say A is shorter than B. So we can call this what we call it? We call it compare. we compare between two things or two persons. So I can say B is taller than A. Okay, so I'm comparing the two persons. I'm comparing B and A. I'm saying B is taller than. So we have than here. We have to put it after the adjective. Taller than, bigger than. And we have to add ER to the end of the adjective. If the adjective is short, one syllable or two syllables, we can add ER to the end of the syllable. But if the adjective is longer, as we will see later, we have to change. We have to make no change, but we have to add something before the adjective. So here I can say the sentence in a different way. I can say A is shorter than B. So A is shorter than. He is shorter than. So we have tall, we have short. B is taller than A, and A is shorter than B. So this we call it in English, we call it comparative. Or comparison. We are comparing between things, between people, between countries, between any things we can make a compare. So let's go back to the grammar, and let's move the slide here. Okay. The comparative. Okay, let's look at the comparative and decide what does it mean. Here in the grammar rules, the comparative, if you go to module 5, page number, I think it will be in the student's book. If you go back to the page number 87, if you go to the student's book, page 87, we have the comparative, module 5. Let's read and find out what does it say. The comparative, we use the comparative to compare two people or things. So either we compare two people or two things or things. So you can make comparative between people, between things, between countries, anything. So we have here, Sherlock Holmes is wiser than. Wiser than Dr. Watson. He is wiser than. Wiser from the verb wise. We have the verb wise. You know the verb wise. The adjective, not verb. Wise. بمعنى, if I want to write in Arabic, means Hakim. So Sherlock Holmes is wiser than Dr. Watson. He is wiser. أكثر حكمة. He is wiser than Watson. We use ER plus than. So we need to add ER plus than to form the comparative. So we need to add ER, okay, plus what? Plus than. من, أكبر من, أصغر من. So than means من, أكبر من. The comparative of one syllable. Okay, if it is one syllable adjective. Syllable means what? If I want to say syllable means مقطع. إذا كانت مقطع واحد. So I'm telling you in Arabic, like wise, small, tall, short. these are one syllable. مقطع واحد. الكلمة مقطع واحد. So if it is of one syllable adjectives or two syllable adjectives, even if it's two syllable adjectives, we can add er to the end of the adjective. That end in y, like Miss Marble was older than Hercule Poirot. Mrs. Marble was older than Hercule Poirot. She was brainer than other women detectives. So we have the adjective brainer than. We added er to the end of the adjective. Then we added than. Then we completed. Here we are making comparison between she, Miss Marble. Okay, she belongs to Miss Marble. She was brainer than other women detectives. Okay, we use more or less plus than to form the comparative of two syllables adjectives. So if there are two syllable adjectives, we add less and more that don't end in y, and adjectives with okay. We use more or less. more بمعنى أكثر, less بمعنى أقل. We use more or less بالإضافة إلى than to form the comparative of two syllable adjectives. إذا كانوا مقطعين, two syllable adjectives that don't end in y. So here we have to notice that if the adjective ends with y, then we can add we change it to IER. We treat it as one syllable. But if it is two syllable adjectives, then we have to add before the adjective the words either more or less. And adjectives with more than two syllables, also we add more or less. So two syllables and more, we add more or less before the adjectives. It precedes the adjective. Here we have Miss Marble is more famous. More famous. We have the adjective famous. 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 It is two syllable. Than period. Period is less logical. Less logical. Logical. So it is more than one syllable. Logical. Three syllables. Than Holmes. So we added less. So if it is positive, we put more. And if it is negative, we add less. So if I want to reduce, I say less. If I want to make it more, I say, or positive, I add more before the adjective. So here we have a clear description or explanation about the comparative. And we said it's very important to add to the end of one syllable, we need to add ER, okay? Or we put the word more before the adjective itself, and we don't change anything with the adjective if it is positive. If I want to the negative meaning of the sentence, I add this before the adjective, and it's followed with than. So than is very important. We need to put than because it makes the comparison between the two things. So let's move. The comparative, we have compare the two books in the photo. Here we have in the student's book. Please open your student's book. Open it to page number 57. Okay, here we have compare the two books in the photos. Use the adjectives in the list to write sentences. So we need to write sentences about these things. We have big, small, thick, famous, old, colorful. So we have big, we have small, we have thick, we have famous, and we have old, and we have colorful. And we have two books here. Okay. So here I have encyclopedia, and we have story. So this is a book and this is a book. So we need to make a comparison between the two books. The encyclopedia and the story. The first example is written like this. The encyclopedia is bigger than the book. So here he used the adjective bigger than. So the encyclopedia is bigger than. But notice here with the example, he wrote bigger. How he wrote bigger? He made double G for it, and we will come to that later. B-I double G E-R. Bigger. So the encyclopedia is bigger than the story. It's bigger than. So if I want to write the same sentence, I say the story is smaller than the encyclopedia. The story is smaller than the encyclopedia. Then we have the word, the adjective thick. Thick means khamil, dakhin, thick. So here I'll say what? I will say the encyclopedia is thicker than the story. Okay? And here I will write, if I want to write, I will say the encyclopedia is more famous. Here because famous. It's two syllable. It is two syllable. So two syllable adjectives. So with two syllable adjectives, I add more famous. Okay, so here I will write more famous. The encyclopedia is more famous than the story. Also, we have older. Which one is older? This is 1978. So the encyclopedia is older than the story. And I have the last one is colorful. Colorful. So it is more than one syllable adjective. Here I will say the story is more colorful than the encyclopedia. It's more colorful than the encyclopedia. So here we made the examples. Let's look and see the examples we have written. Here we have the encyclopedia is bigger than. Okay, it is bigger than the story. It's bigger than the story. The story is smaller than the encyclopedia. It is smaller than the encyclopedia. The encyclopedia is thicker than the story. The encyclopedia is thicker than the story. The story is more famous. Notice here we used more famous. We said famous is more than one syllable adjective. That's why we say more famous than. We don't forget the word than. It's very important to give a meaningful sentence. More famous than the encyclopedia. And the last sentence we have the encyclopedia is older than. Older than the story. It's older than the story. So here is our answers. Okay. See the answers. Okay, the last one, we said the encyclopedia is older than the story because it's old. Old قديم أقدم من. It's older than the story. So according to the picture, the encyclopedia is older than the story. And the last sentence we have, the story is more colorful than the encyclopedia. So it's more. Why we put more? Because the adjective colorful, it is longer adjective. It is not one syllable adjective, it is two syllable adjective. Colorful. So when we pronounce it, we pronounce it in two syllables. Try it, and you will practice it, and you will become to know that this is one syllable or more than one syllable. Okay, so let's move. Okay. Comparative and superlative adjectives. Also, we will talk also about something called the superlative, but later on. So one syllable, if the adjective is one syllable, we add er to the end of the adjective. So like the adjective strong becomes stronger. We added er to the end of the adjective, and the adjective big, it becomes bigger than. Okay, and two syllables ending in y, like tidy, funny, funny, tidy. These adjectives ends with y. We can change, or we need to change, drop the y and add ier to the end of the adjective. So the adjective tidy becomes tidier. We drop the y and we added I in its place, ier, tidier than. And funny, we drop the y also, and we added I in its place, it becomes funnier than. So it's funnier than the, so on, and so on. 2, 3, 4 syllables. If we have adjectives of 2 or 3 or 4 syllables, here we need to add, as I told you, we need to put more. So here we have famous, beautiful. We need to put more famous and more beautiful. More famous and more beautiful. We have also, let's see. Okay. We have some irregular adjectives, and keep it in mind, you need to memorize these adjectives because they don't follow a certain rule. A few adjectives have irregular comparative and superlative forms, like the good. If I'm saying you are good, but I want to say he is better than you, I say what? We say better. So good becomes better than. Good, better, أحسن من. Good, جيد, better, أحسن. Bad means سيء, and if I want to make it, I say أسوأ, I say worse. So he is worse than his friend. Then we have the word far. Far means بعيد. I want to say أبعد. We say farther. Farther means أبعد. So these are irregular adjectives. You need to know them, memorize them, because they don't follow the rule. Also, we will come to talk about as plus adjective plus as, if they are equal in the adjective, and like we have here, classical music is as popular as rock music with our customers. As popular as. So also it's there. If I want to say as big as, Jordan is as big as Syria, and so on. Also, I made a list of the adjectives, so you can also look at them and try to learn them. Here we have angry. It becomes angry, we drop the Y, it becomes angrier than. He is angrier than his friend. Attractive, 3-syllable adjective, more attractive than. We have the bad becomes worse than. We have beautiful, 3-syllable adjective. So here we say more beautiful than. Big is 1 syllable, it becomes bigger. We double the G, and we will come to that later why we double the G. Better than. Black, blacker than. Bloody, bloodier than. Blue, brave, till the end. We have the end of the list of the adjectives. These are some of the adjectives we are talking about. Let's move next to exercise 5, page 57. Okay, let's look at page 57, exercise 5. Here, as you can see, we have exercise page 57, and we need to complete the dialogue with the correct form of adjectives in brackets. Then after that, we need to listen again and put the right adjective in its place. So please look at the form. We have 7 gaps, and at these 7 gaps, I'll try to read and help you with them. We have a dialogue between Ra'id and Fatima. Let's read together. I saw one of Parrot's stories on TV yesterday. Fatima: Parrot, I don't like him. I only love Miss Marple. Right, Miss Marple, that boring lady. Boring. The word boring here, do you know what's the meaning of boring? Boring means mumil. That boring lady. Fatima, she is not boring. In any case, she is boring than Parrot. So here what I will add, do you know, we have the boring. I will add more or less, or I will add ER to the end of the adjective. Can you tell me? She, according to Fatima, she is less boring than Parrot. Right, she is intelligent than Sherlock Holmes. She is, here right says she is Miss Marple. She is less intelligent because he likes Sherlock Holmes. She is less intelligent than Sherlock Holmes. Holmes and Parrot are logical, and this is right says she is less intelligent than Sherlock Holmes. Holmes and Parrot are what? What do you think the answer? are logical, more logical and more professional more logical than Miss Marble. Fatima, maybe, but she is blank, old and wise. Maybe, but she is what? Here we have the adjective old. She is older. Yes, it is older. She is older and wiser. Here we have the adjective wise. It ends with E. I just need to add R to it. Wiser than them, right? In any case, I like detective stories. They are, we have the adjective interesting. So interesting, it is 3 syllables. So it is, I can say they are more interesting than. More interesting than romantic novels. So please go again to this dialogue between Raed and Fatima, and try to check your answers. Now we'll go again and listen to this dialogue between the two persons and find out if our answers are right or wrong. So let's check now, please.
Module 5, page 57, exercise 6.
I saw one of Poirot's stories on TV yesterday.
Poirot? I don't like him. I only love Miss Marple.
Miss Marple? That boring old lady.
She's not boring. In any case, she's less boring than Poirot.
She's less intelligent than Sherlock Holmes. Holmes and Poirot are more logical and more professional than Miss Marple.
Maybe, but she's older and wiser than them.
In any case, I like detective stories. They are more interesting than romantic novels.
Okay, dear students, now after you have listened to the recording about the dialogue between Raed and Fatima, this is the script. You can check your answers. Okay, as I told you, we have here several adjectives. Here we have less boring, number 1, less intelligent, more logical, more professional, older, wiser, more interesting. So we have only older and wiser. Okay, they are from the short adjectives. The rest are longer adjectives. That's why we use more or less with them. So now let's move to the next. Also, we have exercise 7. Exercise 7, page 58. Open your books. Exercise 7, page 58. We have the last one. Complete the text by the new detective Samir. Use the comparative form of the adjectives from the list. So we have the list. Look at the list here. The first one is courageous. Courageous means شجاع. From the courage, courageous. It means شجاعة. Patient, also it's adjective. Patient means what? It means صبور, صبر. And we have logical. We said about logical, that means منطقي. And intelligent, also intelligent means ذكي وعبقري. And hard means صعب. or بجد also sometimes it means. So here we have to fill the blanks. Okay. We have to fill the blanks with these adjectives. But we need also to keep in mind that we need to understand the context. We need to understand the sentences so we can put the right adjective and add to it either ER or more or less before it. So let's look at the first one. Hello, I am Samir. I finally passed the test and became a real detective. But Joe didn't. It wasn't so easy. In fact, it was blank than we expected. So what do you think we need to put here in the gap number 1? Yeah, we need to put hard. So it becomes hard, one syllable. So we need to add ER to the end of the adjective. So it becomes harder. So it is harder, harder than, أصعب من, harder than we expected. I was blank than Joe and didn't give up. So we were talking about hard. We said here we have blank. Hello, I am Samir. Finally passed the test and became a real detective, but Joe didn't. It wasn't so easy. In fact, it was harder. Okay, harder than we expected. Harder, أصعب. Harder means أصعب. Harder than we expected. I was dash or blank than Joe. So what do you think we need to put here? Yeah, we need to put more. And what's the adjective we need to put it with more? What do you think? Is it more courageous or patient, logical or intelligent? I was more patient. Yes, more patient. I was more patient than Joe. So we have the word patient. More patient than Joe and didn't give up. What's the meaning of give up? Give up means يستسلم. So Samir says, I didn't give up. I continued. I kept on trying. So I didn't give up thinking about the solutions of the different problems. So he kept on thinking about solutions of the different problems he had to become a detective. The head detective said that I was the boss, the head detective. Okay? Means the boss, رئيس. The head detective said that I was blank than Joe. Since all the solutions I suggested made perfect sense. So the boss or the head detective said or told Samir that he is what? Or he was what? He was more. Okay? More logical. More logical than Joe. أكثر منطقية. More logical than Joe, since all the solutions I suggested made perfect sense. Although Joe is dash than I am, he couldn't solve all the problems. What is there? What we need to put in number 4? Although means على الرغم من. Although Joe is what? Is more intelligent. Okay, it's more intelligent. More intelligent, here we need to take intelligent, we took hard, and we took, I think, logical. We took logical. So, more intelligent than I am, he couldn't solve all the problems. Solve means يحل. Problems here doesn't mean مشكلات also, it means مسائل, anything يعني, it doesn't mean always problems. I think he was a bit scared of failing. Joe was a bit scared of failing. I was what? I was more. We had one adjective left. So I was more courageous. More courageous than him and didn't care about the test result. So Samir says, I didn't care about the result. I was more courageous than Joe. That's why I managed to pass this exam. So let's see the answers. Here we have the answers. Check your answers, please. Harder, more patient, more logical, more intelligent, more courageous. So here we have the answers to our exercise number 7. Okay, so let's move again to the next exercise, please. Here we have the superlative. Superlative So what does it superlative, what does it mean? Superlative means that you are comparing between more than two people or more than two things. And one of them is better than the others. So if you are comparing three, let's say Khalid, Ahmed and Yusuf, and one of them is better than the others, so in this case, he is better than them. So he is superlative. So we use something called superlative, means he is the best among the three. Okay, or four, or many. So superlative can be between more than two persons, and it's open. So here we use the superlative to compare more than two people or two things. If I am comparing between two people or two things, I will use the superlative. Miss Marble is the oldest detective. She is the oldest. Notice here we use the plus the adjective, and we added est to the end of the adjective, so it becomes the oldest detective. So Miss Marble is the oldest detective among the old detectives, 3 or 4. She is the oldest one. We use it precedes. We need always to remember that the precedes the adjective. The plus est, if it is one syllable, to form the superlative of one syllable adjectives or two syllable adjectives that end in y. So if the adjective ends with y and it is two syllable, we add est to the end of the adjective, and we drop the alphabet y from the end of the adjective. Miss Marble is the wisest or brainiest of women detectives. So he compared between Miss Marple and all the women or the detective women. So here the women detectives. So between more than 3 persons and above. Here we use the most, also the most. We use the most plus the adjective to form the superlative of 2-syllable adjectives. So if it's 2-syllable adjectives, we add the most plus the adjective. The most plus the adjective to form the superlative of 2-syllable adjectives that don't end in Y. So if it doesn't end with Y, we add the most and we don't change anything with the adjective. We keep it as it is. So we don't add est to the end of the adjective, but we put the most before it. The most, if it don't end with Y, in Y, and adjectives with more than 2 syllables. Let's see the example. Sherlock Holmes is the most famous. The most famous. Here we have the adjective famous and we added the most famous. So Sherlock Holmes is the most famous detective in history. So he talks about all detectives in history and he says that Sherlock Holmes is the most famous. So he compared Sherlock Holmes with all the detectives in the history and he said he is the most famous detective in the history. So here it's comparing between Sherlock Holmes and the rest of the detectives in the world. The second sentence, Poirot was the most arrogant detective ever. The most arrogant. Arrogant means متعجرف in Arabic. So Poirot was the most arrogant detective ever. So among all the detectives, he was the most arrogant detective. So here because arrogant is arrogant, it's a long adjective, we added the most before it. We have irregular, comparative, and superlatives. Okay, irregular, comparative, and superlative. We have, as I mentioned before, we have good and bad are irregular. We talked about that. Okay, good and bad, and we said good becomes what? Good becomes better, and bad becomes worse. So good and bad are irregular adjectives. Their comparatives are better than. Okay, here we have better than and worse than. The same rule applies to compound adjectives. Okay, sometimes we have compound adjectives from 2 words, like well-known. Well-known, it is 2 adjectives together. Compound, we call it compound adjectives. So sometimes it is from 2 words. The same rule applies to the compound adjectives. Well-known. Holmes was a better detective than. Better detective than Watson. Holmes was better detective than. Here we have the adjective. Okay, better. Sorry, better is the adjective. Better detective than Watson. Poirot was a worse detective. Worse detective than Holmes. Poirot was better known than Miss Marple. Better known than. Okay. The superlative of good and bad are the best and the worst. If I want to make it superlative, صيغة تفضيل عليا, I make the best. Here we have it's not showing, the best and the worst. So with the superlative, we have to put the before the adjective. We need to put the best, the tallest, the smallest, the youngest. All these adjectives we need to put the if it's one syllable, and if it is more than one syllable, we add the most to the before the adjectives. Let's see. Let's check our okay. So here we have the superlative. Exercise 8, page 58. If you have a look at page 58, exercise number 8, please open your student's book. Page 58, we have exercise number 8. Complete this table with the superlative form of the adjectives. So we have the adjective, we have comparative, and we have superlative. Comparative means مقارنة, and superlative صيغة تفضيل. Okay, superlative. It's the best. He is the best among all. Comparative, I compare between two persons, two things. So if I have the adjective old, old means قديم أو كبير. If I want to change it, make it comparison, I say he is older than me, أكبر مني. I will add what? I will add er to the end of the adjective, so it becomes older than. If I want to make it superlative, I will add the before the adjective, becomes the oldest, and I will add est, as you can see, the oldest. He is the oldest boy in the class. He is the oldest boy in the class. He is the oldest man in the village. So oldest means al-aqdam, al-akbar sinnan. The second one is pleasant, 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 more than one syllable. So here I don't add er to the end of the adjective, but I put more. If it is positive adjective, more pleasant. Today it is more pleasant than yesterday. أجمل, أفضل, أحسن, more pleasant than. And if I say I want to make it superlative, I add the most before the adjective, it becomes the most pleasant. Ajlon is the most pleasant city in Jordan, the most pleasant. So here I gave Ajlon the best thing, the most pleasant city in summer. Okay, we have the word hot. As you can see, hot, we have here short adjective and we have vowel between two consonant letters. Sometimes if we have a vowel between two consonant letters, we double the last letter, so it becomes hotter. We added T, ER, hotter than. Okay, so here we have hotter than. Aqaba is hotter than Amman. Aqaba is hotter than Amman. If I want to make it superlative, I will say Aqaba is the hottest city in Jordan. Aqaba is the hottest. I have to put the. Okay, hottest, HOTTEST, the hottest. I added EST, but also I made double T. I doubled the last letter. Famous is famous, مشهور, famous. He's a famous man. If I will say he is more, or this player is more famous than the other, more famous, I compare between two people or two cars. This car is more famous than yours. If I say it is the most famous, I need to write the most. The most famous. The most famous means it is the most famous. I'll say, like for example, remember one example. Messi is the most famous player in the world. The most famous player. So I compared between this player and all the players in the world, or football players. We have the adjective good, and you remember good, we said good is from the adjectives that irregular adjective. So good becomes what? Becomes better. Good, جيد, better, أفضل. So I'll say his car is better than yours. Better than, أفضل من. And if I want to say al-afdal, I will say the best. Okay, so it is the best here. I added the best, means al-afdal among all. The last one we have bad. Bad means سيء. Worse means أسوأ من. He is worse than his brother. So worse means أسوأ من. And if I say like Ahmed is the worst person in the class. Worst. So here I will add the, okay, and worst. Okay, so it becomes worst. Worst, it becomes the worst. He is the worst student. He is the worst student in the class. So here I made the comparison and I made superlative. Okay, superlative between more than two persons. Let's move to the next exercise. Here we have the answers. The oldest, the most pleasant, the hottest, the most famous, the best, the worst. These are the answers. Okay, answers to the question. Okay, here we need to omit this. Okay. Okay, let's move to the exercise 9, page 58, student book. Here we have 4 sentences. We need to read these sentences and choose between A and B. Which one is the right answer? Read each situation and decide which of the 2 sentences A or B is correct. So we need to read the sentence and choose from A and B which one is the correct. The first one is saying Sherlock Holmes is a very well-known character. He is a very well-known. Well-known means what? Well-known means معروف. Now let's go to page number 58, exercise 9 from your student book. We have to do this exercise. We have 4 sentences and we have to choose between A and B. Every sentence has 2 answers and we have to choose according to the right one. Read the situations and decide which of the 2 sentences A or B is correct. The first one is saying Sherlock Holmes is a very well-known character. We said the word well-known well-known. What does it mean, the word well-known? Means معروف, مشهور. Well-known character. Character معناها شخصية. He is a well-known character. So, Sherlock Holmes is a very well-known character. So I have to choose between A and B. He is the more famous detective of all time, or he is the most famous. What we will write? We'll write the most famous or the more famous. What do you think? The answer is right. The answer is B. He is the most famous of all time. So he is the most famous in all time. He was the most famous person, the most famous detective, okay, or the most famous character. The second sentence, Perry was an arrogant man. Arrogant, we said arrogant means متعجرف. Arrogant man. He thought he was the better detective in the world, or he thought he was the best detective in the world. What do you think? He was the better, or he was the best? With that, what we use? Do we use better or best? Of course, we use the best here. He was the best detective. He was the best detective in the world, because here it is superlative. He thinks that he was the best detective in the world. Okay, number 3, Holmes and Perrot are younger than Miss Marple. Both of them are younger than Miss Marple. Miss Marple is the most old detective, or Miss Marple is the oldest detective. What we use? The most old, or the oldest. Of course, we'll use the oldest. She is the oldest detective. She is the oldest. We don't say the most old. Okay. Number 4, everyone loved Miss Marple. Everyone loved Miss Marple. She became the most popular detective in history, or she became the more popular, or the most popular. What do you think? Is it the more popular or the most popular detective? Of course it is. She became the most popular detective in the world. She is the most popular detective in history. Okay. Now, dear student, let's move to activity book. Please do open your activity book, page 46. Okay, of your activity books, and let's see the exercise. We have some exercise we need to do them. We have the comparative, number 3, exercise number 3. Okay, the comparative, page number 46, exercise 3. We have 6 sentences. We need to fill in the blank with the right adjective. Complete the text with the correct form of the comparative. Yeah, try now to read and solve, and we will check the answers after you finish. We have professional, we have rich, we have wise, we have famous, we have old, and we have pleasant. These are 6 adjectives. And here we are asked to use what? We are asked to use the comparative form, not the superlative. We have to concentrate on comparative form. So what do you think? Hercule Poirot is what? Is blank than Miss Marple. What do you think? Here we'll use more. more professional. Okay, more professional. More professional than Miss Marble. He is also what? Than her. He is also what? We have the adjective rich. Rich means he got a lot of money. So he is also rich or what? Richer. Okay, richer than her. He is richer. He got more money than her. He is richer than her, and he travels the world. He travels because he's very rich. He travels around the world. Miss Marble's dash wise than Parrot. Miss Marble is wiser. She is wiser than Parrot. She is more famous. She is more famous than him. So Miss Marble is more famous than him. We don't really know if she is blank than Parrot, but she is, we have two blanks here. Okay, we have two blanks. Blank number 5. We don't really know if she is old than Parrot. If she is what? If she is older. If she is older than Parrot. But we don't know that, but we do know that she is, and we have the adjective pleasant. She is what? She is more pleasant. She is more pleasant. She is more pleasant than him. Okay, let's check now our answers. The first one is more professional than Miss Marble. He is richer. She is wiser. Number 4, she is more famous than him. We don't really know if she is older, but she is more pleasant. So these are the answers to number 3. Okay, let's move to exercise number 4. Activity book page 46. Exercise 4. So please open your activity books. Exercise 4, page 46. Here we have to do the superlative. We did the comparative, and now we need to do the superlative. Complete the text with the correct form of the superlative. The first one, Dr. Watson is the. And remember, we need to use what? We need to use the before the adjectives. Keep it in mind that we need to put the before the adjective. The loyal person to Sherlock Holmes. Holmes is the dash famous detective in the world. He is the dash intelligent. and the dash logical detective Watson knows. He is not the dash pleasant person, but Dr. Watson doesn't mind and thinks that Holmes is the dash wise detective in history. Okay, let's look at these blanks and try to solve them. Is what? Dr. Watson is the most. Of course, here we'll use the most. Why we use the most? Loyal. The most loyal. It is two-syllable adjectives. That's why we use the most. The most loyal. The most loyal person to Sherlock Holmes. Holmes is the most famous. Remember here we use the most. The most famous. Okay, the most famous detective in the world. He is the most intelligent. Why we use most? Because intelligent is long adjective. The most intelligent. The most intelligent and the most also logical. Logical detective Watson knows. He is not the what pleasant person. He is not the what we need to put here. The most pleasant person, of course. He is not the most pleasant person, but Dr. Watson doesn't mind and think that Holmes is the doesn't mind and thinks that Holmes is the what we use? The wise detective in history, the wisest. Here we added est to the end of the adjective, so it becomes the wisest detective in the history. So let's check our answers and see if we are right or wrong. Most loyal, most famous, most intelligent, most logical, most pleasant, and the last one is the wisest. So these are our answers to exercise 4, page 46 from the activity book. Okay. Now we are left with second section, page 47. We have the past simple. We have to talk about quick revision about the past simple. Okay, dear students, I know it's long, but we need to do it today. So we have grammar, the past simple, irregular verbs, page 47. Open your books to page 47. The past simple irregular verbs, complete the text with the correct form of the irregular verbs in brackets. So we have the text, we have some irregular verbs, and we need to fill these verbs, put them in the past simple. So please look at the exercise 1. I will try to make it clearer for you. Okay, I think now it's clear. Let's try to answer the first one. The first one is example. Perry Mason is a famous fictional detective. Early Stanley Gardiner. Then we put the make, we change it to what? We change it to made. Made his character. So he made the character of this fictional writer or fictional detective. Fictional means what? Do you know what's the meaning of fictional? Fictional detective. Fictional means riwai. Riwayat, fictional. Sometimes it means also khayal. Khayali, famous fictional detective. This character, we have the verb right. We need to make it past, so it becomes what? It becomes wrote. He wrote. He wrote more than 80 Perry Mason novels. He wrote novels, riwayat. He wrote more than Perry Mason novels. Perry Mason's task, and here we have B. B, if I want to make it past and the subject is singular, I will use what? I will use was. So here I will say was. Let's correct our writing. I can't hold this pen. It's difficult to write. Okay. So, was to defend a client on a trail for murder. Murderer means qatil, murderer. Defend him in the court, and he has to go to the court and defend him. In the end, Mason always found okay. The past of find is found. Found proof. Proof means dalil. The word proof here means what? It means dalil. Proof of their innocence. براءة. لبراءتهم. وجد الدليل لبراءتهم. Innocence. Gardiner, we have the verb sell. It becomes sold. Sold 135 million copies of his books in America alone. In America alone, he sold how many? He sold 135 million copies of his books in America alone. In the year of his death, he died in 1969. Okay, so let's check our answers now. We have made, wrote, was, and found. These are the four, and still I think we have more. I think we have we have sold. So these are the verbs in the past. Made, wrote, was, found, and sold. This exercise number 1, page 47. So let's move to exercise number 2 also. Same page, page 47. Activity book, page 47, exercise 2. We have a passage, and we need to fill it with these verbs sometimes. Complete the text with the correct form of the verbs in the box below, regular and irregular. So we have regular verbs and we have irregular verbs. You remember the regular verbs, we just add ed to the end of the verb. But irregular, we need, as I told you earlier, we need to learn them by heart. We need to memorize these irregular verbs. So we have the verb pass, enjoy, be, read, help, write, and solve. They are in the present. So we need to to make them past. So can you tell me which one of these verbs are regular and which are irregular? Can you remember? Try to find out. Right. The first one, this is regular, this is regular, and this is regular, and this is regular. So we have 4 regular verbs and we have 3 irregular verbs. Okay, write and be and read. They are irregular verbs. So, Mahmoud Salim dash or blank, born in Alexandria in 1929. So what I will put here in this blank, I will put pass or enjoy or be in the, of course I will change it to the past form. What do you think we will put here? Good. We will put was. You know, be, if I want to change be into past, I will change it either to was or were. So here I will change it to was because I'm talking about one person, Mahmoud Salim. Okay, Mahmoud Salim was born in Alexandria in 1929. He dash or blank useful and entertaining work of literature for children. He made something for children. So he what? What do you think? He wrote. Good. He wrote. I will correct the E. He wrote useful and entertaining works of literature for children. One of his best detective series was The 5 Adventures. The 5 Adventures, this is one of his best series, which was about 5 heroes who dash mysteries. Who what? Who, of course, solved. Solved means حلوا الميستريز اللي هي الأشياء الغامضة. Solved mysteries. Many generations means أجيال, العديد من الأجيال. Many generations of women and men who blank this series as children. What do you think here? What we will put here in this blank? Of course, we put the verb read, but when we write read, it remains the same spelling, but we change the pronunciation or the how we speak it. So it becomes, what do you know what's in the past? It is irregular verb, so we keep it as it is, but we pronounce it as read, not read, read. So here we say many generations of women and men who read, not read, who read because it's past, who read this series as children, blank them down to their children and generation. So what we will write here? Of course, we write past them. This is regular verb, of course. Pass them down to their, يعني مرروها أو أعطوها لماذا? Pass them down to their children and grandchildren, إلى أطفالهم وأحفادهم. Children and grandchildren. Young readers, blank his stories, because there was no physical violence. So young readers what? Of course, enjoyed. This is regular verb. Enjoyed, we add what? We add ed to the end of the verb because it's regular verb. Enjoyed, right. Enjoyed his stories because there was no physical violence. Physical violence. What's the meaning of violence? Violence means عنف. Physical violence اللي هو العنف البدني. There was no physical violence in his stories. In them. His detective series showed value. Showed what? They showed values. قيم. They showed values such as courage. What's the meaning of courage? We have taken this word before. Courage means شجاعة. It means شجاعة. The courage, justice, and justice means عدالة, justice, and cooperation. Cooperation also means تعاون. Cooperation. So his stories, good courage, justice, and cooperation. They blank the children to use their imagination. And what's the meaning of imagination? Imagination, تخيل. Imagination means تخيل. Imagination and think logically. Logically بمنطق. أن يفكر بمنطق. Logically by analyzing the events in order to find clues for solving mysteries. Here we have only help. Also this is a regular verb. Okay. They help the children to use their imagination, okay, and think logically by analyzing the events in order to find clues for solving mysteries or mysteries. Here are the answers, as you can see. Okay, was, wrote, solved, read, passed, enjoyed, and helped. These are the right answers for exercise number 2, page 47. Now, dear students, let's move to page number 48. And here we have a table, and we need to fill this table with the right word or with the right adjective. Write the adjective in the correct column. Comparative. Comparative, we know comparative, comparing between two things or two people. So here we are comparing between two things or two people. Here we have by adding ER. Sometimes we will add ER to the end of the adjective. Sometimes we will add only R if the adjective ends with E. And by doubling final consonant and adding ER. Sometimes we double the last letter and then we add ER. By dropping Y and adding IER. Sometimes we drop the Y from the end of the adjective and we add IER. Sometimes we add more or less before the adjective. And we have irregular comparatives. As I told you, we have some adjectives which are irregular. So let's start. Look at the box here. We have short, logical, big, thin, professional, important, intelligent, wise, hard, pleasant, bad, happy, wide, small, kind, good, and safe. So let's start with adding ER. And he gave us the first one. Short became shorter. Short became shorter. So do we need, look at the adjectives and tell me if we have more adjectives we can put from in the same, on the first column. Good. We have, tell me. Yeah, we have hard. It becomes harder. We add ER. Okay. And what else? Tell me if we need to add more in this. Look at these. Do you think we need to put any of the adjectives here? Yeah, we have small. Small will add also small becomes smaller. So we have small, take it out, and we have hard. Okay. So by adding only R to the end of the adjective, we have adjectives which end with E. So like wise, it becomes wiser. Okay. And also safe. It becomes safer. Okay. Then also we have what? Wide. Wide, عريض, wider, أعرض. Wider. Good. So wise, safe, and wide. These adjectives, they end with E. So we add R to the end of these adjectives. Okay, by doubling final consonant and adding ER. Sometimes we need to make it double, the last letter. Then we need to add ER to this adjective. Look at these adjectives and try to think and tell me. Okay, we have big, double G, then we add ER, bigger. And also what we have, so we'll take big. What else remain? Yes, we have the adjective thin. Thin means nahif. Thin means nahif. It becomes thinner. I'll take it out. Double N ER. So here we thinner, anhaf. Khalid is thinner than Ali. He is thinner. Okay. The next one is by dropping Y and adding IER. So we need to see which one ends with Y. We have only the happy, the word happy. So we need to drop the Y, and in its place, the place of Y, I will add I, then I will add ER. So it will become happier. Okay, so it became happier. Khalid is happier than Ali. Happier. Okay. Next, by adding more or less. Sometimes we need to add more or less. You know, still we need one. Let's take it up, and still we have spaces. Here we have the kind. Kind means latif. Kind means latif. So if I want to make it ألطف أكثر لطفا, also kind, I didn't notice it, it becomes kinder. Also with this group. Okay, kinder. By adding more or less, we have so many. Logical, professional, important, intelligent, pleasant. all these adjectives, they are long adjectives. They are long adjectives. That's why we need to add more or less before them. So they become what? Become where we can write them. We keep them as they are, logical. Okay. Take it out. Professional. Okay, professional. Also, I will take it out here. Important. Okay, important also. Intelligent also. Okay, intelligent, also I'll take it out. What else? Also, the last one is pleasant. Pleasant. Okay, so pleasant. Also pleasant, also from the long adjectives. So pleasant, intelligent, important, professional, and logical. These are long adjectives or more than two-syllable adjectives. So also left we have bad and good. So they are from the irregular. They are from the irregular. Comparing, comparatives. Here I will write good. Better. Okay, and we have the adjective bad becomes worse. Okay, so these are the adjectives. We made them in the table comparative. We wrote the adjectives according to their groups. Let's see if our answers are right or wrong. Answer exercise 3, activity book, page 48. By adding ER, short, shorter, hard, harder, small, smaller, kind, kinder. Okay. By adding only R, we have wise, wiser, wide, wider, and safe, safer. By adding or by doubling final consonant and adding ER, big, bigger, thin, thinner. By dropping Y and adding IER to the end of the adjective, we have happy, happier. IER. By adding more or less before the adjective, we have the more or less logical, more or less professional, more or less important, more or less intelligent, and more or less pleasant. Final one, irregular comparatives. We have bad becomes worse, and we have good becomes better. So these are irregular comparatives. Next, we are going to see exercise 4, page 48 from your activity book. Okay, in this activity book, look at exercise number 4. Here we have to fill in the blanks. Complete the text with the correct form of the comparatives, more or less. Okay, here we have to put more or less with the adjective because it's long adjectives. The first one is done for us. Sherlock Holmes was more perceptive than Watson. More perceptive than Watson. That's why Watson was dash successful than Holmes in his attempts at solving solving cases. So was less successful. He was attentive. Let's see the answers. More perceptive, less successful, less attentive, more honest, more practical, more mysterious. Mysterious, the last one, number 6, it means غامض. More mysterious, أكثر غموضا. And before that, more practical, أكثر عملي. Practical means عملي, more practical. Number 4, honest, معناها صادق. He is more honest. More honest يعني أكثر صدقا. Okay? Let's move to exercise number 5, page number 49. Activity book page 49, exercise 5. We have, like the last table, write the adjectives in the correct column. We have famous, short, logical, hot, pleasant, well-known, professional, interesting, boring, wise, hard, good, happy, small, kind, bad, wide. So look at these, please, adjectives, and start telling me. Here they have put some of them, and we need to complete the table. Okay. Here they added what? They added the famous. Here we added the most famous. The most famous. Okay, they have taken it out. And kind, here we are talking about, of course, we are talking about the superlative, not about comparative. We are talking about superlative, adding the plus est or the most before the adjectives. Okay, here we need to add only by adding st. Which one? We will add only st. Of course, it's like we have wise and we have wide, because both of these adjectives, they end with what? They end with e. So here we write the y, then we will add st, the wisest. Okay, the wisest and the widest. Good. Then doubling final consonant and adding est. So we have in this case we have to double the last one and add est. We have here also hot, comes the hottest, double T, est, the hottest. Okay, what else? What else can you tell me? Also we have some adjectives like short, shortest, the shortest, and also what? The smallest. We need to put the because it's superlative. The smallest, okay, the smallest. So let's take out the small, short. Okay. Dropping y and adding iest. Where is the adjective with which ends with y? We have only happy. So it becomes the happiest. So here we drop the y and we added I in its place. Then we added est to the end of the adjective. So it becomes the happiest. Okay. Then we need to add also more. We have here hard and kind. They are from this group. They become the kindest. The kindest. Okay. So let's take kind. And hard, the hardest. Also we'll take the hardest. The hardest. Okay. So the shortest, the smallest, the kindest, and the hardest. Oh, okay. Kind is there. Kindest. It's written twice. No problem. Now let's go to the most. The most, we have so many. The most logical. Okay, the most logical. Take it out. Pleasant. Okay, the most pleasant. Because it's not clear, I have to rewrite it. Pleasant. The most pleasant. Okay. Take it from the box. The most well-known. Okay. So the most famous, the most logical, the most pleasant. Also the most professional. Okay, the most professional. Okay, the most professional, the most interesting. And we have the most boring. Okay, so we have the irregular comparatives. We have bad, okay, we have bad, and we have good, and we have well-known. Well-known. Okay, so these are the adjectives. We made them according to the groups. Let's see our answers. If we are solving them right or not. Answer to exercise number 5. the adjectives in the correct column. We have adding est. Here we have kindest, shortest, hardest, smallest. Adding st only to the adjective like wise, wisest, wide, widest. By doubling final consonant and adding est like hot, hottest. Dropping y and adding iest like happy, happiest. Adding the most famous, the most logical, the most pleasant, the most professional, the most interesting, and the most boring. And irregular superlatives, we have well-known, it can be best-known, and good becomes best, and bad becomes worst. So here we did the exercise. Check your answers to exercise number 5, page number 49, and make sure that you are writing in the right box. Let's go to the next exercise, exercise number 6. And in this exercise, complete the text with the superlative form of the adjective. So we need to use the superlative of the adjectives in the brackets. Complete the text with the superlative form of the adjectives. What were the characteristics of the most famous detective? Here we put what? We put most famous. Sherlock Holmes was the most. Of course, it become most. And we said the most means al-akthar. The most intelligent, al-akthar ذكاء. The least means al-aqal or less al-aqal. The most. We didn't come to the least. The most intelligent detective in the world. Watson was Holmes' what? Loyal friend. So what do you think here? There is no the. What do you think? Loyal. What's the meaning of loyal? Loyal means, what does it mean? Do you know what's the meaning of loyal? Loyal, mukhlis, the most loyal. So what we'll add here? We'll add Watson was Holmes' most loyal friend. He was loyal to his friend. He considered Holmes to be the bad roommate in London because he was very untidy. Bad, if I want to, you remember bad is irregular. So it becomes the worst. So he considered Holmes to be the worst roommate. Roommate, what does it mean roommate? Roommate اللي هو الرفيق الذي يسكن معك في الغرفة. سموه roommate in London because he was very untidy. Untidy means غير مرتب, فوضوي, untidy. So he was the worst roommate. However, he did not have Holmes' brain, which was the dash logical. So what do you think is the answer? Of course, it's the most logical. Most logical of his time. So so his success was limited. So his success was limited. Let's see the answers. Most famous, most intelligent, most loyal, worst, most logical. So These are the answers to exercise number 6, page number 50. Okay. Before we end, we have the number 7, page number 50, the exercise number 7. Use these words to make questions, then answer them. So we need to make these words into questions. Then we need to answer them. We have intelligent who, the history, is detective in most. So we need to make a question. We have to make 5 questions out of these. We need to make 5 questions. Okay, we need to make 5 questions. Look at the sentences. Intelligent who, the history, question mark, is detective in most. Mahmoud Salim, question mark, which the detective is of series best novel more. I will go to the answers. Who is the most intelligent detective in history? This is the question. The answer, Sherlock Holmes is the most intelligent detective in history. Which is the best detective series of Mahmoud Salim? The answer, the best detective series of Mahmoud Salim is The 5 Adventures. Which is more thrilling, a romantic novel or a detective novel? Answer is, a detective novel is more thrilling than a romantic novel. Number 4, whose detective series are more useful for children? The answer, Mahmoud Salim's detective series are more useful for children. And the final one is, who is the most famous detective in history? Who is the most famous detective in history? The answer is, Sherlock Holmes is the most famous detective in history. By this, we come to the end of section 2 of our activity book. Next time, we are going to do section 3 and section 4 of unit of module 5. So, till then, please try to remember what I told you. Go back to your activity books and start learning the irregular verbs. Keep trying till you memorize them, because they are very important for you in the future. And to solve a lot of the grammar in this term, we need to understand that we need to memorize and learn them by heart. Till then, I hope you enjoy our lesson today. Okay? And that's the end for today. I would like to thank you again, and see you soon, my dear students.